everyone, Jeff James from Mythology again, and what we're going to do in this segment is take the work that we've done in the customer segmentation and developing who we're targeting and prioritizing all that, and taking a look at our competitors and understanding where we have strengths and weaknesses. And with this differentiation discipline, this pillar that we're talking about, we're going to wrap it all together in a really powerful value proposition. Now, the term value proposition is pretty well used in the marketing world, but what we have found is that oftentimes companies will just get a group of people in the room and start putting stuff up on the whiteboard about what their value proposition is. And that's a good exercise. But if it's not informed and sort of infused with the understanding, the priority, and that sort of discipline that we've walked through in the other videos, then the value proposition is just really your best guess. And we really advocate that you do the discipline work of the understanding pillar with some real research, some real validation with the market before you sort of pull it in and truly develop your value proposition. But we do want to structure this so that we have a nice simple equation for your value proposition to be developed around. And so we have one up here on the board, and this is sort of a conglomeration of a variety of different styles of writing a value proposition, but this is a very simple one that we really like. So I'm going to walk through this and be thinking about how you would answer each of the parts of the equation of the value proposition with your own company. I'm going to use mythology just as an example so we can fill in some of the blanks. So the first part of the value proposition is wrapping up who you decided that your priority customer segments really were. How do you describe them? So this is sort of a for statement. And for mythology, who we are targeting, we decided that we're not targeting companies based on size or region or any of that sort of thing. It's almost more of a psychographic targeting. So for mythology, who we are for are basically ambitious companies who want to be a leader in their category, but they are unequipped to get there from a marketing perspective. So we want those really ambitious people, executives who want to go from here to here, but they might have a marketing director or a marketing team that just is maybe under-resourced, or they haven't had the experience in dealing with some of the bigger issues of marketing that mythology would be able to help them with. So that's really who we are for. Okay? That's pretty simple. So the next part of the equation is, what are their needs? So what are the needs of an ambitious company that really wants to get the most out of their marketing? Well, fundamentally, they're trying to develop a more effective and measurable way to market. When I talk to CEOs or CFOs of companies that are trying to get from here to here, one of the things they're really struggling with marketing is, how do we hold it accountable? So how do we become more effective, and how do we hold it accountable? So that's really what their fundamental needs are in our equation. Okay, so this is the easiest part of the value proposition. You just talk about who your company or product name is. In our case, it's mythology. That's the one freebie we throw in there for the equation. Very easy. And the second part of this is, what is your category of product or service? It actually is helpful, not just for you, but for consumers or customers, to understand how to compare you to other companies. Oftentimes at mythology, we get compared to an advertising agency or someone who does marketing, but they're really more on the creative side of it. So for us, we don't really want to be compared to an advertising agency as much. We really want to sort of be in this category of business consultants. So we'll just call ourselves, for purposes of this exercise, a business consulting firm, because that helps the end target understand that we're really a lot different than a creative agency. Okay, so here we've sort of defined a few basics, but now we're going to get into the real fundamental aspects of value proposition development, which is, what is the differentiating benefit that we bring to the table? And it has to be developed in relation to what the core need of your target people are. So if we're targeting very ambitious companies who are ill-equipped to get to where they want to go, and they're really looking for effective, measurable marketing, what is it that we provide? Well, the way that we describe it at Mythology is that we provide a marketing system And that's a very different way to describe what a lot of people think of as marketing. We bring a whole process, a whole system approach to help the company up-level how they strategically do marketing. So the marketing system, and the primary benefit of that is that it grows their brand, their revenue, and their relationships. So those are three core things that we're trying to grow in a company with our system. So that's our core benefit that maps to their primary need to be effective and measurable. Now, at this point, in the value proposition, it's really helpful to call out who your competitors are. And the truth is that we don't necessarily want to be compared to agencies like ad agencies or creative agencies, but we often are. So we have to sort of call out that agencies are focused more on the sort of creative end result, that top of the iceberg that we talked about earlier, whereas we're focused more on the underlying part of the foundation of the iceberg. So it's important to call out how you're different from these folks that you might be compared to. Sometimes we're also compared to maybe a marketing research firm. And those folks do extremely good work as well, but they tend not to sort of integrate the data that they come up with in research into a full-blown strategy and process for marketing. So we can talk about how we're not like research firms. And then finally, there are other business consulting groups out there. And the way that we're different from them is that most of the business consultants we find are really good at maybe an industry expertise. They might have sort of a business process expertise that they bring to the table. But we're clearly specifically focused in the marketing side of business consulting. And so we can differentiate there a little bit as well. So think about that for your own industry, your own company. Now, the final piece of the value proposition, we've been very clear about who we're for, what they need, and how we connect to it with our core benefit. And so the final part, you could sort of call this the proof points. You know, what are the pieces of your value proposition that build credibility that this core benefit is true? Well, for mythology, we can point to things like, you know, myself as a founder worked at Microsoft for 14 years, where I did a lot of strategic management roles. And I actually developed one of our unique differentiators, which are these 10 pillars that we're actually walking through. So I can talk about where these things came from and how this sort of unique marketing system process with the 10 pillars actually got developed. And I often do that because people would like to know, you know, how do we know that this actually works or if it's valid? There are other things that we can point to. There's sort of the diverse industries and types of companies that we've tested this with. And so a lot of our case studies and other things that we want to develop need to reinforce these because statements. Okay? So that's basically the equation for a really strong value proposition. So I encourage you to take some time, use the tool that's beside this video, and do a little worksheet on your own company or your own product for a value proposition.